delete, 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 delete. Hello everybody, Tekking101 here, and welcome back to day number 2 of the 13 Nights of Hollows-ween. Today is a series I'm sure everybody that's watching this video knows all about, because it's one of those things that's really, it's kind of transcended just the realms of anime and manga. You really can't consider it Ohba and Obata Sensei's only major successful manga, but it's probably the one they'll be most remembered for, and that is Death Note. And this is something that I really am privileged that I watched the time that I did. I've always stated that Fooly Cooly is my favorite manga, and I did watch that around the time when I was maybe 12 or 13, just when I was becoming a teenager, and that manga, and well, the anime, really helped me just, you know, figure out what I need to figure out. I know that sounds really weird when you consider what Fooly Cooly is, but it really helped me. Just live with it. But Death Note I watched when I was in high school, a freshman in high school actually, and going in a little bit personal here, it was right around the time that my parents were going through a divorce. And I, once again, can't really explain to you how, but it was really good that I watched this around the same time. Maybe their dark imagery helped me out, maybe kind of masked what I was feeling at the time, and helped me feel a little bit better about myself, that I wasn't as demented as Light was, maybe, but it helped me out gratefully. And something else I have to say about it before we even get into the plot is, this manga is it transcends just the bonds of just the anime community. What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is there are people out there that are much older, that don't even know about anime or manga, they've never picked up manga, they don't even know what it is, and whenever you say what is anime to them, they'll just be like, oh, that's that Japanese stuff, right? But they'll still know about Death Note, or they'll still at least have some knowledge of it. I'll give you a perfect example, right? Like, if you go up on the street to somebody, and this person, it's around your age bracket, but they've never seen anime before, they don't even know what manga is, you go up to them and you yell out, Kamehameha! What's that from? They're probably going to say DBZ or Goku, or they're going to have some idea what that's from, because Dragon Ball Z back in the 90s is another manga that kind of permeated beyond just the anime community. It kind of soaked into this pop culture in America, even though it's not the country it originated from. Death Note is a lot of the same way. It can be considered the DBZ for this time period in the late 2000s, early 2010s as we are in right now. Because I know a lot of adults that don't even like anime, but they've still heard of Death Note or have seen Death Note. This is another weird example, but my mom, who is probably the most, like, whenever you say something like want to watch a show, she'll be like, oh, is it live action or is it a cartoon? It doesn't matter if you say anime. Anime is synonymous with cartoon with her. So I asked her one night, hey, you want to watch Death Note? It's a pretty good series. I think you'll like it. And once again, she asked me, is it a cartoon? I'm like, no, it's an anime. It's different. You'll like it. Watch it. She watched it, and she liked it. You do not know my mom personally, but my God, that is like Columbus first sailing to America and just discovering, holy shit, look at all this majestic majesty. It's like, oh my God, we didn't know it was here, but it actually existed. You know? It was that level of discovery. I was like, my jaw dropped when I discovered that. So, I don't know, I think what really helps this series out is the fact that it is an anime, and it is a shonen, but at the same time, it treats it a very dark subject matter. It treats everything seriously. It treats there's very little comedy in this entire series. Any comedy that exists is either through Matsuda, or even the comedy parts actually lead into important parts in the manga. But the manga itself it actually deals with a lot of layers to the psyche. It really does. Just to go into plot here, I mean, I'm not going to go that deep into it because the plot's redundantly simple, and I'm sure most people here have, you know, probably seen it at some point, but basically the plot of the series goes as such. See, there's a Shinigami world that's parallel to our human world, and in this world we have... Sorry, my neighbor is mowing his grass right now, and that's kind of annoying. Man, God, I really wish he would... Okay then, so, going back to the plot of the series, it basically has this Shinigami world, which is a parallel universe to our world. The Shinigami, or God of Deaths, live in this universe. However, this universe is kind of sucky for all things go. It's not really hell, it's not really the underworld, it's just this parallel plane. And it kind of sucks, it really does. There's just broken debris and rubble, kind of like the remnants of a lost civilization, possibly Greek, which is a lot of the imagery gets taken from. A lot of biblical imagery in the series. And one of the Shinigami here, called Ryu, gets kind of bored with this and decides to venture into the human world with his Death Note. All Shinigami possess a Death Note, and the way how it works is quite simple, although as you can see there are quite a number of rules regarding it. This is the complete set. I think there's like 59 or some such. But the basic gist of the Death Note is whoever human is written in this book while you're thinking of their face will die. And then everything else is more, you have to get more into the rules. Watch the series if you haven't. If you don't, you know all the rules. So basically, you need a name and a face, and as long as you have those two things, you can kill any human being that's currently on the planet Earth. So it's quite a powerful thing, and the Shinigami basically use it in order to prolong their lifespan, so they can keep living their somewhat meaningless existence. So this one Shinigami named Ryu gets bored, and he drops his Death Note in the human world. A human named Light Yagami, who's kind of a child prodigy. He's a high school student, and he's just basically a genius at everything. He's very clever. He's a great actor. He's great at manipulating people as well as being good-looking. And I only bring this up because it's kind of very important in the series. And he just picks it up and he decides that he can make the world a better place to, live if he uses the Death Note to wipe out all the evildoers on the planet. And he basically develops a god complex within the first episode, and there you go! There's the rest of the series. With Ryuk at his side, he decides to venture on his quest to purge the world from evil, known as an alias of Kira. Or in English, the variation was killer, but, R's and L's kind of get mixed up in Japanese, so that's why Kira. Or Kira. So, that's basically the plot of the series, and the only thing else I have to add here is Light's one enemy, although as I got into psychological layers here, you can consider this either way, is the detective known as L. L is the most brilliant detective on the entire planet, and his goal in the series is try not to only figure out who Kira is, but how his method of killing works. So that's basically, I'd say, a good setup. I don't want to give anything more beyond that. As I was saying with psychological layers, it's easy to just assume just from a straight perspective watching this series, that Light is the villain, L is the hero. Obviously, right? Because Light is killing a bunch of people. All L wants to do is just find him, and he wants to, put him to justice for committing murder. But you can also look at Light as sort of an anti-hero, or even in some regards, you can view him as the hero of the series. The world is rotten. It takes, the world in Death Note takes place in somewhat the same world as we live in now. They have the same problems, such as terrorism, murder, rape. All that shit still exists in their world, and Light's just trying to make it better. Because as we all know, I'm sure we know a lot of situations where this has happened, and I'm not going to bring up any recent current events because I don't want to start a debate in the comments, but there's a lot of shit that happens that's fucked up in our world, and the people go on trial for it, and then they just walk without any kind of repercussions or anything, and you know they did it, they know what they did wrong, and they just kind of squeak through the process. Light is a person that just takes this to the extreme and just realizes that if this shit happens, if people do wrongdoings, they deserve to burn for it. That is his basic dogma, and that's somewhat maybe relatable, because you have to sit down and think to yourself, if you were to just find a Death Note one day, and you knew about its powers, and you knew full well you were killing people, would you use it? I'm sure all of you out there in YouTube land right now would probably say to yourself out loud, if you're watching this with somebody else, or if you just want to have the PC response, no, of course not, I would just lock it in a safe or something, I wouldn't use something that evil. Bullshit! No human being has ever been close to that amount of power, and if that power was just dropped on your lap, I'm not saying you would use it, but I'm not saying you wouldn't. We have no idea how we would act in that sort of situation. So Light's predicament, you can't just look at him and say he's just straight out evil. I can't really sit down and call him evil based on the predicaments that he was set up. So that's my opinion. The themes of the series, as I said, are very biblical and religious, particularly the way people die in this series. There is at least some biblical, relation or allegory when it comes to that. I'm not going to give any examples here because I don't want to spoil on who and who does not die in this series, because that's like the major point to this series: who dies and who doesn't, who makes it as far as they do. But there is definitely that. Pay attention to that, actually, because sometimes it's not so obvious. Sometimes it's very subtle. Going back to the whole relation to the adult audience, I think what they like about it is if someone's older who doesn't know much about anime and someone's trying to get them into it, they might be a little bit jarred if you start them off in like a very fantasy world or a different world, such as, you know, One Piece. One Piece is a great manga, and, you know, a lot of older people like it, but it kind of starts you off in this different universe. It's kind of hard to grasp onto. Death Note, I think, appeals to the older audiences and any non-anime audience so much is because it, like I said, it deals with real-world problems. It deals with an actual world and a lot of moralic questions of, if you got this power, what would you do with it? Would you act the same as Light? Would you develop a god complex? Or would you do the right thing and burn it? What is the right thing? Who decides the right thing? Because the whole concept of God and angels and the devil, that's another thing that gets brought up in the question here. You know, going along the stuff that Ryuk says in the series, there is a questionable existence of heaven nor hell. So it's, it makes you think a lot. It really does. So I recommend you go pick it up. On the Gorometer scale, which, by the way, I got a helpful note from the last video that the number 5 slot is not Ares, it is in fact Kratos. I never played God of War. I'm sorry. I typed in Ares in Google image search and he's the first one that popped up, so I just assumed it was fucking Ares. Anyway, Kratos, whatever. So, there's not a lot of gore. There isn't. The primary method that, you might be thinking, like, okay, well, people die in this series, how can there not be any gore? The primary method that the Death Note kills people, and this can be variable, but the primary method is a heart attack, which means there's usually not going to be a lot of blood involved. So, in that regard, I'm also going to give it a Stephen King 1 ranking for creepiness. Once again, the Gorometer doesn't rank how good a series is, or how overall creepy it is, or like all the value. It just rates the blood, and that's basically what I'm going for. I'm going to start off low and get more into the bloody, the wet stuff later in the series. So definitely check it out if you haven't. I mean, like, number 5 times I'm saying this on this video, but I really can't say anything else. It really helped me out. It's a really good series. I own the entire anime, and I've watched the entire, I've read the entire manga. I'm really glad they didn't screw up the anime. They hold a candle to it. They do. There's a little bit of filler, but there's no bullshit filler arcs. There's no bullshit second season that just, you know, has Light and L walking around town chained together with Misa clinging to Light's shoulder having ice cream. You know, it's not bullshit like that. They keep it right to the point, and the anime does a fantastic job of highlighting it with the darkness, the shadows, the music. God, the music is evangelical and very choir-esque. Very good freaking anime adaptation. So that's my video, guys. I hope you're enjoying the 13 Nights of Hollows-ween so far. Please make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I will be releasing one of these videos every single day until October 31st, so I hope you enjoy. Now, if you don't mind, I'm going to take care of some annoying little brats that stole my lunch money in 6th grade. Oh, Bobby Darin. Who has 2 chocolate milks now, bitch?